Did you know that every UGC NET and KSET exam includes at least one question from food chain, food web, and ecological pyramids? Yet many aspirants lose marks because they confuse with these three concepts. So stay till end and watch this video. Can a food chain become a food web? Why is the pyramid of energy always upright while the pyramid of numbers can be inverted? If these questions confuse you, don't worry, in the few next minutes, you will understand all these concepts so clearly that you can solve even very trickiest question in the exam with confidence. Let's start with ecological pyramids. We all know that ecosystem can be studied under three circumstances. First one is energy flow, second one is biochemical or nutrient cycle, third one is ecological succession. So what is this energy flow? So energy in an ecosystem is not stagnant at one phase. Energy flow in an ecosystem is a one-way transfer of energy from the sun. So it travels from the producers to the topmost level of the consumers. It is a unidirectional movement which is visualized via food chain or web. Only about the 10% of energy is transferred from one level to the next level. Let's study in detail now. Before knowing about ecological pyramids, food chain and food web, we have to first know about the trophic levels. What are the trophic levels? The first one is producers, then comes primary consumer, secondary consumer and the decomposers. So what are producers? Producers are the ones which produce their own food. They are also called as autotrophs. Plants and algae capture solar energy via photosynthesis. They convert this energy into chemical energy, that is biomass. They represent the base of the ecosystem. Always producer come at the base because once they produce, only the consumers can consume. That's why. Next comes the primary consumers. They are called herbivore animals. Herbivores. Animals that eat what the producers produce are called as herbivores, like the deer, elephant and all. The secondary and tertiary consumers, they are carnivores or omnivore animals. They are the predators that eat. Primary consumers, and the apex predators consume the secondary consumer or tertiary consumer. Apex is the one which is at the last higher end of the chain. Next comes decomposers. Fungi and bacteria break down these dead and organic matters and waste. They recycle the nutrients and they send it back to the soil, so the energy is not wasted. So we got to know about the producers, consumers and the decomposers. Now let's see about the 10% rule or 10% law. It was proposed by Raymond Lindman in 1942. This law explains why food chain rarely exceed up to 4 to 5 level. As the energy moves up the food in the food chain, less is the available or the sustainable higher level predators. That means the producers will be more, the primary consumers will be little less, then again secondary consumers will be much lesser, then the final apex or the tertiary consumers will be very less compared. Why is this? Because the energy transfer between these trophic levels is highly inefficient. According to this 10% rule, about 90% of the energy is consumed at one level and only the 10% will be transferred to the next level. So this 90% of the energy consumed at one level is used for metabolic processes, movement, reproduction, and certain amount will be lost due to the metabolic heat, and only the 10% of the energy which is stored as the biomass and which is available for the next consumer. This strict limit explains why food chain rarely exceeds 4 to 5 levels and not more than that, as there isn't enough energy to support the higher levels. Now let's see what is food chain. A food chain is a linear network of links that show how energy and nutrients flow from one organism to the other in an ecosystem when they consume each other. So first is terrestrial, on land. So the grass is produced. The grass is consumed by the primary grasshopper. So this grasshopper will be consumed by secondary, that is frog. And this frog will be consumed by tertiary, that is some snake. And this snake will be consumed by hawk or eagle, that is apex consumer. This will be in the terrestrial ecosystem. If you are taking an example of aquatic ecosystem, that is water ecosystem, the producer will be the phytoplankton, and this phytoplankton will be consumed by the primary, that is zooplankton. Then this zooplankton will be consumed by small fish, that is secondary. And the next comes large fish, which consumes the small fish. And the apex will be the shark or whale, which consumes these large fishes. So coming to trophic levels in detail study, each organism in the food chain occupies very specific position known as the trophic level. Energy diminishes, that is energy will be reduced about 90% when it moves up each level, leaving 10% for the next consumer. So first will be primary producers, that is autotrophs. These make the food. These make up the baseline of the chain. They use the sunlight, create their own energy via photosynthesis. Example, grass, plants and algae. Primary consumers are herbivores. They eat the plant eating animals that directly consumes the producers, that is grasshopper, rabbit, deer, all those. Next is the secondary consumer, that is carnivores, which are meat eating animals. They hunt and consume the primary consumers like frogs, snakes and foxes. Frogs and snakes come under secondary consumers, and sometimes it may be like tertiary consumers also. Tertiary consumers or secondary consumers are the animals which eat other carnivore animals. As I said, secondary and tertiary may be interconnected because frog may be the end line or the apex body also. In the same way, they may be the tertiary consumers also. So main example of tertiary consumers will be eagle, wolves, big fishes and all. Apex predators. What are these apex predators? They are the topmost consumer that have no natural predators of their own in the wild. So they will be the topmost level. They will not be hunted by some other birds or animals of their same origin. Next comes the decomposers. They are also called as detritivorous. Organisms like fungi, bacteria and earthworms that break down this dead and organic waste, they cycle crucial nutrients back to the soil to fuel the producers. So this is not the end when it reaches the apex predators, but the decomposes the nutrients again back to the soil, so that will be consumed again by the primary producers, that is autotrophs, while preparing their own food. So this will be the restart of the chain again. There are two main types of food chain in the ecosystem, the grazing food chain and the detritus food chain, which are occasionally joined by the third one known as parasitic food chain. They are distinguished entirely by their initial source of energy. Let's see these in detail. First one is grazing food chain. This is the most common food chain where energy transfers directly from the living plants till the predators. So the energy source will be sunlight. It will be captured by the autotrophs in the process of photosynthesis of preparing their own food. And the starting point will be living green plants, that is called phytoplanktons or primary producers. And the flow order will be producers, then the herbivore will be consuming that, then comes the carnivore. So example for this is grassland or terrestrial food chain. And in aquatic we have phytoplankton, again consumed by zooplankton, then again small fish, then the shark. Next comes detritus food chain. The food chain which targets the organic waste management and the nutrient recycling. It dominates the flow of energy in terrestrial ecosystem. So here in this detritus food chain, the nutrition recycling will happen. So the energy source will be the non-living organic waste material which is ready for decomposition, which is done got by the death of some apex predators. So decomposing these materials gives rise to the starting point of the detritus food chain, that is dead plant or animal matter. How does the flow go? First detritus, then the decomposers. Decomposers will be these fungi and bacteria. Then comes the detrivorous and the predators. Example, the leaves will fall from the tree and the fungi decomposes it, and then comes the earthworms, it does its part, and then the next the birds, they will also participate in this. Next comes the parasitic food chain. This is unlike traditional predatory chains. This sequence energy towards smaller organisms rather than the larger or the apex predators. So energy source will be the nutrition taking from the living host, often without killing them immediately. So the starting point will be the large organisms like producers or the primary consumers acting as host. How does the flow go? First will be the host, then the parasites which sit on them, then will be the hyperparasites that are the prey of the parasites. So taking an example of oak tree, so we have herbivore birds sitting on the tree, then bird lice, ectoparasites, then comes the protozoa. Here is a table which gives you the key differences between all the three food chains. Just go through this. Next, coming to the food web. Food web is a comprehensive or non-linear network of interconnected food chains. So in food chain, it will be one linear flow. Here in food web, many food chains interconnect each other. That models how energy and the nutrients flow through the ecosystem. So we all know the grass will not be eaten only by the deer or only by some bird or only by grasshopper, right? So all these are interconnected. It visually demonstrates how energy and nutrient cycle through a community by showing who eats whom, allowing for what fact that most organisms consume and are consumed by multiple species. Okay, why is it consumed, who consumes that, and what all things happen. So food webs are organized into specific feeding positions called trophic levels. We have already gone through these trophic levels in the food chain. The same applies here also. Coming to the roles of these producer, consumers and decomposers. These are the three independent groups that make up an ecosystem. Producers are the foundation of an ecosystem because they create their own food using sunlight, water and carbon dioxide. They generate the energy. They restart the chain. They generate the energy through photosynthesis because they produce energy that supports the other life. They are very much essential and they are vital for the food chain. Example, trees, grasses, algae, phytoplankton and all. Next comes consumers. Consumers cannot prepare their own food. Instead, they must obtain energy produced by the producers by consuming the producers or the other consumers. They are characterized based on what they eat. They are into three levels. First one is herbivores, which consumes only plants. Carnivores, they are the secondary or tertiary consumers which eat animals. And omnivores, which depend on both plants and animals. So example for herbivores are rabbits, cows, deers and all. And for carnivores it's lion, tiger, eagle, wolves. But omnivore we have bears, human beings and all. Next, coming to decomposers, they are the nature's cleanup crew. When animals or plants die, decomposers break down their remains and the waste products, releasing simple inorganic nutrients back to the soil. This recycling process makes the soil rich and produces the exact materials producers need to start the cycle again. We have certain relationships in this biotic community. So first one is mutualism. Mutualism means both the species should benefit from their interaction. Example, bee and flowering plants. So bee gets the food, the nectar, the plant gets pollinated. So both of them are benefited. This is called mutualism. Then is commensalism. One species benefits while the other is neither helped nor harmed. So it doesn't have any benefit. Example, barnacles attached to the whale. The barnacles gets free ride to the nutrient rich waters sitting on the whale, but the whale is neither benefited nor affected. Next, coming to parasitism, one species benefits and the other species is harmed. Example, ticks on deer. There are several ticks which is attached to the deer. Ticks feeds on the host's blood. Okay, the host is deer here, causing it discomfort to the deer and potentially disease will be caused. So here the ticks will be benefited but the deer will be harmed. Next, coming to predators or predation. One organism hunts or kills and eats the other organism, that is the prey. Lion hunting a zebra or lion hunting a deer. So this come under predation. Competition. There are two or more organisms which compete for the same limited resources such as food, water and space, which negatively affect both of them, like cheetah and lions competing for the same prey in the grassland. So neither of them are benefited but both have the negative impact. Next comes ecological pyramid. They are the graphical representation of the relationship between different living organisms and various trophic levels in an ecosystem. These represents or illustrates how the energy, biomass or the population size decrease as we move up the food chain, with the producers at the base and predators or apex at the top. We have different types of ecological pyramids. Mainly there are three types. First one is pyramid of energy or productivity. Next comes the biomass. Next are the numbers. Now let's see all these three in detail. First one is pyramid of energy. The total amount of energy available at each trophic level and the rate at which it is being stored. Energy pyramids are always upright. They are not inverted because energy doesn't flow in both the direction. Energy is unidirectional. So it is from the producers to the consumers, with about 90% of the energy lost at the each step and only 10% will be transferred to the next level according to Linneman's 10% law. Next comes pyramid of biomass. This measures total dry mass or the living organic matter of organisms at each trophic level. So this is both inverted and upright. So the upright one is common in most terrestrial ecosystem, where the total mass of producers is significantly greater than the mass of herbivore or carnivore that can eat them. So in inverted, often we find the aquatic or marine ecosystem. We find this inverted pyramid there in aquatic or marine ecosystem. For example, a small standing crop of phytoplankton can support a larger biomass of zooplankton because of the producers multiply and turn over extremely fast. So in inverted pyramid, the producers will be less and the feeding first level of the consumers, that is zooplankton, will be little more than that, and the ones which feed on zooplankton will be much more than that, and the larger fishes will be much more than that. So if we have 1 kg of grass, we have 500 or 5000 zooplanktons which feed on this grass, but we have more small fishes which feed on this zooplankton, and finally large fishes feed on more small fishes here. So this will be inverted. Next is pyramid of numbers. In this diagram we can see that total count of individual organism at each trophic level. So even the pyramid of number will be upright and inverted. These are upright mostly in grassland ecosystem, where the small insects will be the producers, the number of individual decreases as we move up. So in inverted pyramid, this occurs in ecosystem where large number of producers support a massive community of small parasites, or where one tree hosts 100 of feeding insects. You can see in the diagram the upright pyramids given here. So the producers will be the grasses, herbivores, that is grasshopper, will be in the next level, carnivores, frogs and bird will be in the next level, then the highermost or the top carnivore will be the hawk or eagles. Then we have a most important topic which is mostly asked in the examination, that is bioaccumulation. It is the buildup of toxic chemicals within a single individual organism over its lifetime, while biomagnification has a different perspective. We'll discuss that later. How does this bioaccumulation work? Bioaccumulation occurs when the living creature is exposed to some polluted environment. Let's take example of water ecosystem. In this water ecosystem, some fishes are in polluted environment. They drink or they consume the thing which is polluted. This individual takes in the persistent chemicals, often fat soluble compounds like methyl mercury or some pesticides, which lodged into, this will be converted into fatty tissues. So because of this organism body which cannot be easily break down or excrete these substances, the internal chemical concentration steadily rises over time. So this cannot be thrown out of the body. So the accumulation, if you had consumed only 10 grams, it gradually increases to 1 kg nearly. This is an example of bioaccumulation. Next, let's see about biomagnification. In this process, the toxic substances such as heavy metals or pesticides increase in the concentration within the tissue of an organism as they move up the food chain. So as they move up the food chain, what happens? The small fishes consumes the pesticides or heavy metals, that will be eaten by some other larger fishes, that will be eaten by some more larger fishes, and that again those large fishes will be ate by this whale or sharks and all. So the apex predators consume the massive amount of smaller prey over their lifetime. These persistent toxins accumulate to dangerous, potentially fatal levels. What is the difference between bioaccumulation and biomagnification? Bioaccumulation happens in one organism. Okay, if a fish is able to eat it, so the accumulation of this toxicant increases day by day in that fish only. It occurs when an animal absorbs a toxic substance from the environment or consumes it faster than its body can break it down or excrete it. But biomagnification happens across the multiple organisms. Whoever eats the one who has already contaminated or who has already absorbed the toxic content in the food web. It describes how the toxin concentration multiply as smaller contaminated prey are consumed by the larger predators. Why are certain toxins dangerous? Firstly, we have fat soluble. They dissolve and remain stored in fat rather than being flushed out from the body. What are persistent toxins? They do not easily break down in the environment or inside the animal metabolism. Next comes mobile. They can move easily through the air, water, or biological tissues. Here are some examples. Like mercury, often released by coal plants, mercury finds its way into the waterways and builds up an apex marine predators. So it poses severe human health risk because these human consumes the large fish such as tuna, swordfish and all. The same happens with DDT. This synthetic pesticide severely impacts the birds population. Because of this biomagnification, the birds accumulated such high concentration of DDT, which causes thinning of their eggshells and also threatening their reproduction. This completes the basics of ecology and ecosystem. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more such videos. Also comment which topic you want to be taken up next.